his back home, so to speak, identity as well. If that kid is then English as well, the white English kid will perceive it that he has something I don't have. Because if he's just as English as him, the white kid or the Anglo-Saxon kid is English in a different way. In a way that's in the blood, in the sense that he is possibly an Anglo-Saxon. Someone like Tommy Robinson actually isn't ethnically in his DNA. He is Irish.
Yes.
And I think Tommy Robinson grew up feeling not English enough because his family were not really from England, and he felt like he didn't fit in. And when you don't fit in, you can't beat them, you join them. You try even harder to be more English than the English.
Right. But I think one of the strengths is the fact that you have this kind of umbrella term called British and.
Hang on, there's a white man there who was not getting.
Come on.
Raj,
I
was hear more from white people, English people, not from Raj.
Colonial past has come back to haunt us.
Where do the roots of Britain
Thank you.
come from?
Good question. Excellent.
I mean,
what's the question?
Where do the roots of Britain?
The concept of being British come from? Because I mean, I don't know how true it is.
As a modern political term.
As an identity,
or a historical
Well, it's evolved over history from the Roman Empire falling, and then the various kingdoms, Mercia, Wessex, and Sussex.
Aren't we all African?
Oh no!
Well, what's the latest theory? Is it mitochondrial DNA? Were there various different evolutions throughout the planet, or was it an out of Africa thing? I don't know. But we're dealing with that's hundreds of thousands of years ago.
I'm not an expert on that, but
well, neither am I. But I'm saying
that's
there seems to be.
argument.
Yeah.
Humans did actually come
but to be honest, I don't think the masses are too.
But we weren't.
I don't think the masses are too.
But Africa maybe
interested in
wasn't
that
Africa as we see it today. It may have been a very lush. A lot of it's desert in North Africa today. Obviously, it was a very different climate and so on.
What I'm interested in is when do you cut off that bit of history, and then everybody is British, French, Scottish, or whatever.
Well, those are national identities.
You in the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
So for you, is that where history starts?
No.
And
Well,
that's where identity
all right.
is.
Well, what I mean by the English, I mean the Anglo-Saxons. So the Angles and the Saxons come obviously from parts of what we now Germany or northern Denmark, and they were tribes that emigrated here.
Well, they also
and then
mixed with the native.
The native Britons, exactly, who are what we would call the Celts, the kind of Welsh and the Picts or the Scots
Picts,
or whatever. So they were kind of pushed to the side. So the dominant Anglo-Saxons, became the English people, are the Anglo-Saxons, and that's what I'm an Anglo-Saxon. Although I apparently have a little bit of French as well, but that's another subject.
Talk as if England is a country.
It is. You're in it, sir. Welcome to England. You're standing in it. Of course it is. It's a nation. No, it's a nation. It's a nation.
It's a historical nation.
And you're standing in its capital.
English passport.
You can't have an English. Okay. No. Excuse me. We're trying to have an English. Hang on, we're having a discussion here. Excuse me. Anyway, as you know, England is a nation. We are the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom of England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland.
So can we keep it to one talk? Because
can we one talk? England, as a matter of record, England is a nation. Just ask any historian. We are United Kingdom of England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland in one kingdom, which is the kingdom of Her Majesty the Queen, who just lives about a mile over there, probably having tea as we speak.
And this is her
park. And this is a royal park, so we're standing in. So she is our sovereign in that sense, our Queen. The Queen of England. So we do clearly have a political and legal identity, recognised as such by the EU and the United Nations and so on. Even if we weren't, we'd still be what we are. The question is, well, wanted to raise more controversially, is that all the demographic predictions of demographers, i.e. population predictions for the future, suggest that English people will become a minority in England within, say, 50 years or so. And actually the French in France within 50 years, and say for Germany and Denmark and Holland and so on.
You believe that?
Well, I don't. This is what they're saying. They could be wrong, but that's the prediction. And the way change has happened in Europe, say in the last 20 years, if that trajectory happens, it's not going to be that surprising if it does happen. The question is, does this matter if it was to take place? Should we be concerned about it or not? Because that's my question.
I personally think
to English people, not to anyone else.
I personally don't think it's going to happen.
Okay.
Because many minority groups who have emigrated from nations or cultures where people make lots of babies and lots of children, they will eventually assimilate. Maybe not in this generation, but probably in the next generation. And they will become just like the standard British Englishman who probably has, one child or two children max. They won't be making 6 children, 7 children, etc. I don't think that people of minority backgrounds who right now have not well integrated to UK society
You want to name
will,
names?
will
or-
continue on that path.
You
I
mean
won't name
Muslims?
names.
Oh, no, name names,
Come
please.
on,
please.
just don't be
Come
unpleasant.
on.
All right, all right. What basically?
It's just you and me. There's no one else watching.
I'm not saying what I think, but people generally say
You mean Muslims?
People generally say Muslims are like that. But I think eventually people integrate over time.
I've got to respond to that. Sorry, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
As an English Muslim, I would say, what is it that Muslims are supposed to integrate into? Oh, because England.
I'm not saying what I think. I'm Muslim myself,
Right.
so I'm not
Okay.
gonna
But
argue this point.
but
I'm
the-
saying
but
what
the point is what
I'm
they
saying
say.
the fears of
Yeah,
the
yeah. That's what I'm addressing.
native English people
Yeah,
regarding
that's what I'm
Muslims.
addressing because England has many excellent qualities. It also has a dark side. It has rampant alcoholism. It has
Yeah, yeah.
recently on the BBC there has been a massive increase in STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, because of promiscuity amongst the population. A massive increase in gonorrhea and syphilis and you name it, because of the laissez-faire freedom of whatever. We've got alcoholism, we've got materialism and so on, and godlessness. We're not aware of the divine and how God also has a role in our society and in our lives. So are we integrating into that? Should we integrate into that? I would say Muslims stay clear of that.
All right,
on the
Paul,
one
I need
hand.
to interrupt you.
But on the other hand,
hold on. Let
I
the
know.
brown man talk. Come
No.
on, you got a lot of white talk.
I haven't
today.
finished.
A lot of white
I haven't
dominating
finished,
here.
Raj.
All right, after you finish, let me talk.
Thank you, Mr. Brown Man.
I know you've been very dominating today.
Excuse me. I thought we were going to have a discussion, English people, not the Sikh voice here. There are things I think that Muslims can contribute very powerfully to in our society, and that is the renewal of traditional values, traditional family values, respect for elders, not shunting them off to some care home, some rot.
We're already there. Renewal.
Exactly, renewal. These are traditional English values the Victorians and their predecessors treasure, but we have lost since the 1960s. I think Muslims can give voice, if only we would listen to them, to values which are perennial relevance to revitalization of our society as a humane place of compassion and care. Rather than shutting off our elderly people in care homes, the promiscuity damages families and divorce, abortion on demand, which is now a so-called human right, which most of the time just kills babies, is something that Islam is dead against, as is Sikhism traditionally. This is something we can bring back to the table, which English people have forgotten about. So we can, and this is actually a very Islamic role that Islam, the Quran. I'm finished.
Propaganda's over yet, has it?
Well, I'm not sure you're okay. Is that we can remind people of these things and encourage them to bring it back. So instead of assimilating and having 1.3 children and so on, I hope Muslims assimilate, but also renew the culture, renew the society, and call people back to the worship of one God, the God of Jesus and Moses and so on, because they've forgotten that as well. They worship mammon, they worship the stock exchange and standards of living and sex and whatever, the self. So I think Islam or Muslims have a really key future in this country and throughout Europe in a very positive way, without assimilating to the really bad sides which are corrupting. And I mean, why does Europe exist? What is the point of our civilization? We don't know anymore as Europeans. Why do we bother existing? What is our goal? What is the reason for Western civilization to exist? We seem it's all about equality and having a good time, but that's not really a goal. It's a means. Yeah. So that's my view.
The monologue's over. The propaganda's done.
So what do you?
No.
I'm talking white people here.
No, white people, get out of the way. The brown man's in town.
This is a discussion between white people about.
Forget about the white people, because this
Raj.
is about London being different.
This
I'm
was
one of
why
those
we came
people-
together, Raj.
I'm one of those people that is making London different. Yeah, so I have a voice in this, and I'm a British individual.
But you're all right.
So yeah, I'm all right. I'm one of the good guys. But the thing is, this kind of narrative I hear from a lot from Muslims, that the British culture is very one-dimensionally painted. Being promiscuous, alcoholism and stuff like that. There is a lot of other things within British culture.
Yes, I know that, Raj. You don't have to tell me that. I know this.
So you need to say it as well, because you're giving a very negative.
I was because
hold on, Paul, let me
Raj,
let
can
me-
I talk to some English
1
people
minute,
here,
let me
Raj?
just talk.
Because you're talking a lot.
Let me talk.
I'll talk to some
So,
English
hold on,
people
hold
about
on,
this.
Hold on.
You're not an English
Let me
by your
say,
definition.
Hold on a second, it doesn't matter. The point
Well,
is,
it does.
I asked you to talk about this as well. So if I knew the conversation was just to be about English people, I probably wouldn't have asked you to talk about it.
But that's what we said. You
So-
said let's try
No,
two or three or four
I said-
English people.
I
You
said-
said.
I said let's
And then
talk-
when we get together,
let's-
you want to dominate it and
let's-
say.
For the last 10 minutes, have I spoken?
You've been waiting patiently.
Very patiently. So Paul, get off your high horse and stop crying and let me talk. Because I might call you racist like Raspik does to everybody. So the thing
Well,
is,
you're a friend of Tommy
Hold on,
Robinson.
hold
You're a
on.
supporter of Tommy Robinson.
So the thing is, hold on,
when it comes to Tommy racism,
you're not letting me.
more
I was very polite and let
Huh?
me speak.
All races are Muslim.
Hold on. Let me
Tommy
speak.
Robinson's a
Let me
racist.
speak, everybody. So what I'm trying to say is that I can't believe I have to fight for the side of the English in terms of what is good about the culture. Now, what you're looking around you is the culture, the humour, the art, and there's a lot of things within Islam that restrict these things that are good about the culture. So you're taking all the good stuff, but you're not putting in the bad. And there is a lot of bad that accompanies Islam, which you are not highlighting. You're just giving a sugar coated
Let me explain why, Raj.
And
Because,
so the reason,
because EDL people like you only talk badly about Muslims. EDL people like you speak badly. You support Tommy Robinson.
So what? I don't support anybody. I'm just.
Oh, you don't support him anymore? Do you publicly dissociate?
I'm my own man. I support myself.
So you don't support Tommy Robinson anymore then?
Basically,
he used to.
Big up Tommy Robinson, but I don't support any
Big up
man
Tommy
I'm
Robinson,
okay.
a racist
So
thug who attacks Muslims.
What I'm trying to say is that.
Nice one, Raj.
What I'm trying to say is that, but the way people are talking is like you're trying to make out that people that have concerns, legitimate concerns about another culture that is very dominating coming in, which has some positives. I'm against the
My
bullshit.
friend, what's your name, friend?
I'm against the bullshit.
Will,
I'm
you
for
should say.
traditional values.
I want to hear
I'm for marriage
I want to
and
hear
stuff like
Will's
that.
voice.
But there are also big negatives that come with that package.
You're repeating
that-
yourself.
No.
Raj,
that
you're repeating
come
yourself.
because
I want to hear Will, who's an
Hold
Englishman,
on,
by the
let
way.
me just look. The more you talk, the more I'm going to talk. So let me
Raj,
just,
that's not a very adult thing, is it?
No, because you've been interrupting me for the last couple of minutes, shoving me out the conversation like I'm some.
I want to hear Will, who's an Englishman, on this subject. You are not.
Hold on. You're an
EDL supporting
Sikh
Sikh
Let
guy.
me say something to you. Paul, you're sounding racist, yeah? And I don't like saying that because you're saying to me, as a brown person,
I want to see
cannot talk about this issue about John Cleese saying that London is not English.
You told
anymore.
me that
so the thing is,
3 or 4 English people would get together and talk about
3 hours
this.
ago, and I said,
And now you're taking over.
Hold on, can
So
we
you're lying, Raj.
Hold on,
You're
can
lying.
we talk?
No.
We, you know the word we, not the piss, but the we that we're talking like we're all together. You shoving me out and saying no, I want the English.
I do want to hear the English person.
Is disrespectful.
No, well, I'm sorry, it's
His
disrespectful.
voice is not going to go over my voice because it's English.
Okay, look, I just want
His
to say,
voice will come
Raj,
in because
maybe it's a
he has
mistake to
valid
invite
point.
Raj in this in the first place.
If you're saying you're going to talk because you're English, then you need to leave.
Yes, I do. That's what I'm saying.
You need to leave.
Okay, thank
Then
you.
move then. No, I'm not having a conversation with a man that is
Because
dragging it into
let me say
your
this:
English
when
language
Raj
to
approached
talk.
me several times this afternoon, he said, "I want to get 2 or 3
no,
English
no.
people together to talk about the English identity issues."
I
I was
said
talking,
we.
Raj, I'm talking last week. Now what he's doing now, he's taking over and saying that I'm not really interested in the Sikh perspective
You're
today.
being derogatory
I'm
by
interested.
saying he can
I'm
talk
interested.
over me because he's English.
I want to hear English
I have a
people's
valid
voices.
point as well to talk in this
I want to hear
situation. It's
English
about
voices,
the
Raj,
immigrant
not your
community.
voice. Because you are a well-known supporter of a fascist thug called EDL, Tommy Robinson. You're on record 1,000,000 times as supporting
My
him.
nickname is Tommy Robinson.
I want to speak to an English guy because we're talking about English issues here, not Sikh issues or EDL issues.
We're not. You're
Will,
being very
Will,
patronising here.
Will,
No.
I wanna hear
I'm sorry,
Will.
bro. I'm sorry, bro.
Will,
You're
I
not
wanna
going
hear.
to bully me into this here. Hold it. 1 minute. Shut up, man. Shut up. 1 minute.
I'm going to walk away. I'm going to walk away.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Can we get to
One
one
minute.
sort of Will,
1 minute.
please?
1 minute. Let me say something here.
No, you said
when
too
the,
much,
When the narrative
Raj.
comes to he's English, let him talk. And
Yes,
I can't
yes.
talk because I'm Sikh.
You've already spoken
That
in
I
10 minutes.
cannot talk because I'm Sikh. You are taking me out of this equation of what the issue with this particular topic is.
You are, exactly.
I'm out of the
exactly.
equation.
Yes. Right. Will,
Oh,
can
do
I
see
talk
that?
to you? Yes,
You
you are
see
out of the
that?
equation.
That's what you call
You are
me,
out of the
that's what
equation.
you call prejudice.
Okay, you call it what you want. I want to talk to an Englishman about English issues, as you set it up originally with me.
No.
An hour,
I
2
didn't
hours
set up,
ago.
I'm going to bring 4 English
Raj.
people to talk.
Yes, you
I
did.
said, I want to have a discussion about John Cleese's
Yeah, exactly.
comment, including from my perspective as an immigrant.
No, you never said that.
All
That's
right,
a
then, well,
lie.
if you don't, then you need to
You
leave
never
then.
said that. That's a
Well,
lie.
leave then.
You never said at an
Well,
immigrant's
leave. Yeah,
perspective.
move.
All right.
Move.
I've been
Give it
kicked out.
back, give it back, we'll talk. No, he's
I've been
he's
kicked
in
out.
the wrong conversation. Move.
Raj,
Move.
you have lied to me. I will
Move.
say on
Move.
camera,
Get
this
out.
man Raj has lied to
Move.
me.
Get out.
He set this discussion on false pretenses, and I want to talk to.
No, this
English.
This ain't your conversation.
Yeah.
If you guys still
And you
wanna
ran
keep the
away.
conversation,
You ran away.
with me
You
involved,
ran
I'm
away.
keeping the conversation.
So can we have Will? I want Will to.
Hold on, you're not dictating nothing. Paul.
Will, can you
You're not
come for-
dictating nothing.
Raj,
yeah.
you're stopping the conversation.
Oh, no, you got to leave.
Will.
You got to leave. We'll have the conversation over there. I'll have a conversation with these guys.